I'm just making our basic cube here so we can illustrate the basic function of this thing. And I don't know what happened to Suzanne. She disappeared for some reason. Probably had an appointment that she missed or something. So we're going to select a bunch of faces and maybe some rectangular selections. And we're going to make instance like that, and it will generate Suzanne's, where it can find rectangular selections, and they will be hooked to a lattice that will deform the Suzanne, and they are, child objects. Now you'll notice that it's below the surface. That's because the base level, maybe you can think of it as the water level, is the object origin. So if you move the object origin, like something like that, then you can change where the water level is, which is kind of cool. So that's easy to adjust. You can set the origin different, or you can just move it in edit mode relative to its origin to do that. Alright, now let's get rid of these and I'll show you some cool stuff you can do with it. Let's say you wanted to add a bunch of windows to a building, and you had windows of different sizes, or you had a bunch of doors. You wanted to add windows to those doors. So you did something like that, add some windows, and now let's create a super awesome, amazing window, like so, that we're clearly going to spend hours on for this demonstration so that it'll look amazing. There's our window, and it doesn't really care how the object is rotated or scaled. It's going to use the object's local y-axis for how it plots to the up axis over here. And if it can't find a good up axis over here, like if you have stuff selected over here, then it's just going to use the global y-axis there. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, we're going to now duplicate this object in various places where I have my selection groups. And now I have windows all over my building. Isn't that just lovely? Another thing cool that you could do with this, like I thought of how you could make a city really quickly. So like, what if you had a grid, and this will be your city, and then you created a super awesome building like this. I don't like that. I like this. Oh yes, that's much nicer. And let's make it look like an actual building. So, okay, look at that. It's already set to individual. Make some windows over there. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I have to do this so you can see it. There we go. So, yeah, like that. There we go. Cool building. And now let's populate it to our city. So we'll make some small buildings over here. We'll make some buildings over here, all stuck together. We'll make some larger buildings in the back. They stand in the back so that you can see their heads when you take a picture, just like your family does. And we make instance, and we grow a bunch of buildings out of this grid, and it looks super awesome. And of course, it's not centered, so we'll set the origin back to where it should be, which is probably like that, and like that, and like that. Yeah. There you go. So yeah, now we have this cool city that we just built like really quickly. So that might be a fun thing that you could do with it. Another weird thing, I created this snake because I was experimenting, and turns out you can use the advantages of the lattice deform in other ways too. So I picked a real world situation that you encounter a lot, which is a snake crawling across like a BMX or motocross track. And to make this work, well, you just need a selection that would make sense for the snake. So you could like duplicate this object, and it's way too wide for a snake, so I'm going to scale it down to like more snaky sized. And then it only works up to 64 faces because Blender's lattice will only go up to 64 faces. So I have statistics turned on over here, and I'm going to go until I have just over 64 faces. 69, that's fine. And then I'm going to do my thing where I select this object and then this. I can't see this stupid thing. Select this object, then this object, and make instance, and it creates my snake over there. And of course he's way too tall and way too long because you have to get your scale somehow. But that's easy. You just take this object, scale it on the z-axis so that it's a more reasonable size. Scale it on the y-axis so it's like the size of our original snake, roughly. Yeah, he's still too tall. There we go. And now, hide this. Wait, we need to unhide our BMX track. And now my snake can crawl along the BMX track. Whee! Isn't that cool? You can tell I put a lot of careful time and thought into this one. Whee! You'd think you'd catch air going that fast. Okay. A couple of things that this can do. Settings. So let's go back to our building. Let's just duplicate that. So if I wanted to just ignore my rectangular selections, like for some reason I want to make these all individuals, you can do individual faces. When you do that now, it will generate those buildings everywhere there's a face. So they're all based on individual faces. And if you wanted to use the active material, then it will ignore your selection and it will do it based on whatever your active material index is. Because sometimes you might already have all the faces like labeled with the material index. So let's make this a really ugly color because I like ugly colors. Ugly! And let's assign it to some random faces. Like that, like that, like, yeah, that. And now, yeah, assign this material. Okay. And now it doesn't care about our selection. It'll use the material index because I selected active material there. Now we grab our building, grab our object, and make instances, and it will generate it where the materials are rather than where the selection is. I think that's about it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And in a future version, I will add it so that I'll set it up so that the objects will follow the surface. They currently follow, they're parented, but they will not follow the actual surface as it deforms. So I'll create a tool where it can do that. There's a couple of other features that I'll add for like a pro version, and I'll do an update as soon as that comes out. There you have it. Yay! The end.